One interesting thing about this is that as well as the obvious, the normal aspects of songwriting, it also talks about the business, the writing and publishing business. And this week's chapter is called Even a Dog Can Shake Hands, about bad business deals. And some of these are quite cutting. Okay, where was I? Okay. Joni Mitchell to start with. I'm surrounded by sharks. I made money. When you make money, even if you're frugal, even if you don't smoke it or stick it up your nose, there are 101 ways they can take your marbles. Oh yeah, Chuck Berry. There's a couple here that string together. I think it makes an interesting anecdote. Alan Freed was one of the great sort of entrepreneurs of the time. I suppose I can say it right quick. Freed grabbed a third of the writing of Maybelline in lieu of my rookiness. He got the money solely for doing us some favours in those days. He didn't actually sit down with me at all and write anything. I was about the same age as Alan, and though I didn't participate in his dressing room drinking parties, I was always invited, because he liked the interest I took in him and the stories he told. But back then, it was in no way popular for a black person to be invited to an all-white get-together, so I hung around for the experience and the information I could get about the business. There, at one of the loose-speaking drinking gatherings, a bit of information was exposed that induced Alan to tell me that he intended to give me back the 1/3 writer's credit rip-off from Chess's false registration of Maybelline. This was a promise that lingered on through his death and probated estate. It was sometime in the later 70s that I finally got litigation going that brought me rightful full ownership of the copyright. So that's the sort of thing that would go on. Otis Blackwell, who actually wrote a lot of Elvis Presley songs. My publisher, this is quite charming actually, I think, in a way. My publishing company dealt with Elvis Presley's. I was a little bitter at first, but I was new at it. I was going for any kind of a deal. Now recently we've come to a little better agreement over the songs. I mean, if Elvis hadn't had a child, I might have gone after it a little more. But finding out after his death that a lot was left to Lisa, I said, man, I wouldn't want to be taking anything from a little girl. I mean, if she wasn't in the picture, I might have struck out real hard to get my shit back, to get what I could get. But we came to a good agreement. This from George Harrison. So, these people who think they own the rights to the Beatles' recordings and songs never had anything to do with the promotion of them or the writing of them, but obtained them because of all this devious stuff that happened in the past. EMI and Capitol think they own all our songs on record, and according to contracts, maybe they do. But they have a contract to put out our records and promote our records. They don't have a contract saying, we can sell you to shoe manufacturers or we can sell you to sausage manufacturers. And if we don't do something about it, every Beatles song in the whole world is going to be a commercial. John Mellencamp, who some of you may know of, that's one of the reasons my manager and I parted company. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't let some ketchup company use Hurts So Good in an ad for a hot sauce. I didn't write the song for that reason. However good or bad the song was, it was entertaining, but it wasn't written for ketchup to pour out to. Willie Nelson. And I actually know musicians who've been through this as well. The royalty statement from a manager or producer or record label charged the artist for everything in sight. Stuff you thought you were getting free. Telephone calls, bar tab, room service, postage stamps. They charged you for all of it. You'd get your statement and be excited and open it to see how much money you'd made and find out you owed the record company $50,000. Instead of being semi-rich, you'd suddenly have to scramble for money to pay your income tax. And finally, George Jones, not a name I recognize. Who do you gotta know to get out of this business?